by 2050, plastic will outweigh the fish in our oceans. Ocean Bottle is not just another reusable water bottle company. It's a movement. It's aimed at tackling the monumental problem of plastic pollution in our oceans. With each purchase of an ocean bottle, nearly 11.4 kilos of plastic waste are collected, which is the equivalent of 1,000 plastic bottles. So far, they've collected nearly 1.5 billion plastic bottles. That's pretty mental. Will, thank you so much for joining me today.
Lou, thanks so much for having me on. It's awesome to be here. I think, you probably did the intro better than myself, so that was awesome.
How are you doing?
Thanks. Very good, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. Thank you for asking. When you hear about the impact of Ocean Bottle, what I just kind of said there, how does it make you feel, not just as a founder, but as an individual who set out on a journey?
Well, thanks for asking that question, and it's very kind of you. I think, I suppose I do feel proud about what we've done and that we've actually gone out and done something. But also on the flip side, it's a dent in the scale of the challenge, so we've got a really long way to go. So it's kind of, there's a bit of both there. But yeah, I'm immensely proud of the team. The community, I'm incredibly grateful to, because we wouldn't exist, we wouldn't be where we are today without them.
I mean, it's so difficult taking a concept to a reality. I mean, what was that timeline and scale to actually get the idea off the ground?
Concept to reality is nothing short of hell. But yeah, we came up with the initial idea for Ocean Bottle, and it was really all around enabling individuals to make a global impact on the ocean plastic crisis. I think we found that Blue Planet 2 had just come out and people really wanted to do something about this problem, but it was really difficult to actually make a difference, and definitely not on a global scale. So we wanted to just create a way that was simple for people to join in and actually be part of kind of a movement that really does something. So yeah, we went from that initial concept, and then we spent probably a year and a half designing the product in Oslo, Norway. So I'm half Norwegian. I grew up there. And from that, we then did a crowdfund campaign, launched the product. And that was really the point at which we were sort of like, okay, if this doesn't take off and we hit the minimum order quantities, we're going to just have to can this. Or if we can, get it over the line, then we'll make it happen and go forward. So we were lucky to have, some solid support from that point.
When you started, though, and even just thinking about it, the concept is just so incredibly overwhelming when you look at the mass scale of the problem that we're experiencing. But you started with some experience as a deckhand, and when you kind of witness things, you see plastic in the ocean. What's that experience like? And going, okay, sure, what's that feeling like, or in those early stages of going, right, we need to try and scale that?
Yes, I think inspiration often comes from a lot of different places. So my grandparents, they lived in northern Norway, so there was always a strong connection to the ocean, fjords and all that. And then I kind of followed that passion to go work on a boat. So I was kind of walking around in the south of France, handing out my CV, trying to get a job on a boat. I don't know if you've ever watched Below Deck.
No, but
my sisters. It was a lot like that, and actually it was exactly like that. So it was, but it was basically, it was an amazing adventure, and I'd really recommend actually that adventure. But it was also quite visceral, sort of experiencing the ocean plastic crisis. So the owners of the boat that I worked on, they bought 1,000 Evian bottles just to drink on board with their family over Christmas. And I was basically the one kind of, pouring out the half-drunk bottle, crushing it, putting it in a bin bag, and then handing it over to someone to take it away. And they basically burn all of the plastic waste out in the Maldives, so you sort of see it drifting out into the ocean. So that was quite, so a visceral moment. But then, there were things that happened subsequent to that kind of inspired it and made it what it became, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know from personal experience, as I've spent a lot of time by the sea and on the ocean as well. Not nearly as much as my brother, who's a professional sailor, but I make a conscious effort any time that I'm on the beach. I will try and collect rubbish with me as well, and that's again a small impact, because there's always these adverts, And your advert that I do want to talk about is fantastic and not nearly viewed enough. But you see, the world, the images of turtles being trapped with, the beer bottle things. It's such an awful scenario that we find ourselves in. How have we actually managed to let it get to this point? Why do we consume so much plastic?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the key question, isn't it? How did we get this far? And I think, it's almost become, plastic, I think, has become hyper-normalized, the same as consumerism and a lot of other things that we, think are completely normal, but actually they're basically destroying our own futures. I think the single biggest challenge with plastic is that it's just so cheap. It's so cheap to make it, but we're not factoring in, the costs of plastic on the environment, on our own health, on future generations. And I think if we factored that into the equation and started to tip that scale, things would really start to change in terms of virgin plastic production. And
so, which started out, what were some of the challenges that you faced from this kind of idea of activism ultimately to actually converting it into a sustainable business, apart from financial?
I think there was kind of a really deep passion there at the start, and that really inspired the company. But then the reality of building startup, right? It's so intense. So it's almost hard for that passion to really burn through the whole way. I'm glad to say that it's kind of come back actually quite lately. Maybe a little bit more matured, the fashion side of things. But yeah, really keen to kind of shake things up. And I think we've got the foundations to hopefully take things to the next level. But yeah, I would say that kind of filtered through to the concept. But I don't know if that answered your question really, or if it was sort of more politician's answer.
Yeah, mate, that was a nice... Did you ever feel personally overwhelmed when you started out? Because given the scale of the issue, it's almost like, yes, you have the concept, yes, you've got the goal, but it's almost like, as we've been talking about before, where do you start with all these things?
Yeah, so to be honest, I started out super naive. I was like, we're going to solve ocean plastic, we're going to do it, we're going to, tackle the whole thing. And I went into it with that level of optimism and just naivety. And then I think you quickly realize that actually, okay, wow, there's loads of other amazing organizations out there doing great stuff. You realize the scale of the challenge once you start to kind of peel back the rug. So I think what we've learned on that road is the importance of collaboration. So that's why we work with lots of different plastic collection partners. So we have projects in Indonesia, the Philippines, India, and Ghana, Kenya, Brazil. We're also now launching some small island developing states. So I think that has kind of been a key part of it, but not getting burdened by the overwhelm is really hard. And I know there was a time at the start when I kind of created this idea in my head that if this fails, my life is over. And that became really toxic because everything was kind of, life or death within the company. And it became really intense. So I think I've managed to pull myself out of that mentality now. But it can be quite tough if you really invest yourself in it, I think.
So you've kind of alluded to it there, but starting out with an impact-driven business, definitely, and any business comes with its own set of challenges mentally. What were some of the other kind of challenges you faced kind of starting out as a business? Did you experience burnout? Were you kind of burning the candle?
Yeah, full burning of the candle at all ends, 360. I think, in the first year I remember times where, you just didn't want to wake up and face the day because there was just no light at the end of the tunnel really. And it kind of felt like we're just never going to get there. And just the amount of stuff to work through, to get through, to try and get us to where we wanted to be just felt insurmountable. But then I would say later stages, probably 2 years ago, I just completely hit the wall. Couldn't see the wood for the trees, just totally, I think just completely burnt out. And at that point, actually, I got a coach and therapist. So that has been a 2-year journey from there to now, which has been, incredible. So I do think that getting help is not only like recommended, but it's like incredible if you can find the right person to work with if they're in a tough spot.
A lot of founders would value the answer to this question, and maybe you didn't do it at the start, but maybe you do it now. So when you're starting out, as you said, there might not be, each day, there are not necessarily outcomes of that day. So to make sure that it's worth it, how do you actually make sure that you do get up and try and achieve something, even if it's not, accounted for, it's not a valued achievement, but you do it? What did you do to kind of get through that tough period?
Yeah, I think actually just trying not to do everything all at once. I think that's one of my biggest pitfalls, is just wanting to do everything all at once. I think that's quite a typical like founder trait. So I think, actually learning to focus and try and say no to stuff, even though that like goes against your DNA almost. I think that was really important. But then also just looking at, okay, what are the key things that I want to try and achieve today? So I use the daily planner, which is actually, I really like it. It's really good. So just to be able to put, okay, right, these are the 3 things that I'm going to try and accomplish tomorrow. Fine, I did 2. Great. That rather than the overwhelm of having like, I've got 50 things I need to do, that there's not a chance in hell that you're going to be able to do them, but you try and do it anyway. And then every day you fail, basically.
And it's tough to take, like, ultimately, whether people say they're good with failure or, rejection, it builds up. And, we're a bit like a bottle. Once it's full, it's going to overflow.
Yeah.
And what are you like when you get to that overflow point?
I don't know. It should be interesting to ask someone else, maybe my partner. But yeah, I think that, it's very easy to get to that point and just completely overwhelm yourself. But I think that those kind of techniques do really help in stopping that.
When you kind of get to that point of mental fatigue, now, you said that you go to therapy, and I think that whether you're actually experiencing burnout or at the end of the candle or end of the wick, or not, you should do. But what other kind of things do you do to preserve your mental health, particularly in a fast-growing business at the time and, a business with huge goals?
Yes, I think everything's relative. Our company's still small in the realms of company scale-ups and so on. So, but I think every challenge is relative to what resource you have and what you're kind of taking on. What's funny is I wrote up my own user manual, which was quite a fun exercise, just the other week actually. And I basically concluded that I have to have daily meditation or exercise. I mean, exercise is like a cheat form of meditation, really, isn't it? It's kind of like a fast route to that. And then the second thing for me is actually trying to use that daily planner and like say no to stuff. And then the third one is actually, for me, I got to a point where I felt that if I wasn't doing work on the company, that time was unproductive. And I think that basically means that you're completely deprioritizing your own health, you're completely deprioritizing your relationships, your friends, your family. So what I've tried to do is bake in kind of unproductive time in the day. So like going for a walk, doing some DIY at home.
That's allowed.
Yeah, right?
It's like in any form of life, like every waking second I must be working, otherwise this will fail. Whereas actually, if you're not looking after the most important thing, which is yourself, how are you going to be able to complete all those things?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of times where I probably haven't been at like peak performance, and that's because I haven't done that. And we might have made better decisions. We might be further on the journey if I'd taken more care of myself. So yeah.
Well, no, I mean, it's one of those things. I think particularly if you care about something so much, you want to do that. And actually, I think, as you say, starting a business, I know that being a founder, you want to put in every waking minute, but balance is also a journey. Finding that balance is so important. And now you've got a team and a partner, and that's so important,
Yeah, it makes a big difference there. It's sort of, having the team. Yeah, I've come to realize that no matter what I do on a given day, the team are doing so much, and they're also experts in so many different areas that I have very limited knowledge over, and I'm basically just terrible at. So that's kind of, there's a bit of reassurance in that. And I suppose if I hadn't gone through that journey of kind of self-discovery almost, I wouldn't have realized that myself.
I haven't actually I didn't write this question, but I thought of it now because I think it's important as a founder to talk about it. Looking after your employees' mental health, I think is, of paramount importance in 2024 and indeed beyond. And it's crazy how it's actually fallen by the wayside with so many other topics. So what else do you do at Ocean Bottle to kind of help look after your employees' mental health?
Yeah, so I mean, our dream is to be kind of like a challenger impact brand of tomorrow, of the future. And I think the team's enjoyment is a key component of that. And also the fact that, the healthier and happier your team are, the healthier and happier your customers are, and, the more you can grow and the more impact that you can make. So I think it's all completely interlinked. And I think historically, people who haven't viewed it like that have really probably missed a trick, chaining employees to desks and so on. So yeah, for us, I think it's about promoting a flexible workplace that, caters to the fact that everyone is different, individual, and so on. But yeah, we've tried to kind of push a lot of different mental health initiatives. We've worked with several different platforms that we've tested out. So it's kind of what we try and do is get feedback from the team on what they want, and then we just try and kind of make it happen. But yeah, the reality is, as a startup or a scale up, you can't do everything that you ever dreamed of. So I think picking and prioritizing the most important things that give people that is good. But actually, a lot of people just want, clarity in their role and good collaboration across the team. That's like the good fundamental pillar, right? Yeah, without, you can do all the mental health and support stuff on top. But if you don't have that bedrock, it's a tough, you're not going to win probably.
No. Right, let's look at some of the things that you do inside the company and some of the impact that you're doing. So you have actually often bypassed traditional government routes with some of your actions, partnering with kind of companies and organizations to create an impact and change. What have you learned from that approach? From actually getting stuff done?
That puts a massive smile on my face because I love that. I think we've definitely sought to try and bypass convention as much as possible. But yeah, I would say that we desperately need government legislation, incentives to really shift the scale, but we can't afford to wait, basically, that there is no time to wait. So our belief is that business is the fastest moving stakeholder in society. Basically got us in the mess that we're currently in, environmentally speaking. We really believe that actually it can also get us out of this mess at all. I mean, there's some incredible innovations out there, from plastic-free packaging to renewable energy sources to energy. I mean, there's so much going on out there. So if we can scale these innovations and technologies, a lot is possible. So we kind of believe that, basically.
Why do you think it's more reliable and effective than seeking governmental assistance? Do they think it's out of sight, out of mind?
I think governments, the pace of progress is often slower than we might like. And also we've got to recognize the fact that most governments in the world, they operate on a 4-year election cycle. So they're not thinking about, an environmental crisis that is 50 years in the future and the problem of future generations. So I think that is a fundamental problem within government. You look at like the response that we had to COVID, it was like a handbrake. It was immediate. If we can have a similar response to climate and to the nature crisis, that would be incredible. But also it's not just a bad thing. There's so much opportunity associated with it, from job creation to harnessing, new innovations as a nation and exporting those. I'm kind of waffling on a bit here, but yeah, I think that's kind of how we see it.
It's interesting because there's always a public kind of interest when something as monumental as David Attenborough's Blue Planet 2 comes out, and you see the emphatic reach that sort of program has, a national treasure like David Attenborough. And you have no doubt that politicians have watched that and have accepted that message and heard it, and then you still don't see any action. But how important would it be to have people like him continually kind of sending this message out, having that celebrity endorsement? I was just thinking, how amazing would it be, not only for you as a business, because I know that you utilize some of your profits to make actionable change, but have with David Beckham holding an ocean bottle. I mean, immediately talking about that would amplify the message tenfold.
I mean, that would be awesome.
I don't have any.
I was going to say, please pick us up.
Well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, next time. That is an open invitation. I think we really need endorsers to get on board and get the message and the mission out there. Because for us, it's about creating an easy and a tangible way to make an impact. So yeah, I mean, for us, that's a game changer. But, bringing it back to Blue Planet 2, actually, that was a kind of watershed moment. I mean, we are sort of a Blue Planet 2 baby, actually. And you look at like the ripple effects that have happened after that. There actually have been plastic bans that have come into effect. I mean, you're unlikely to find a plastic fork anymore in London, which is quite interesting. So like things are happening.
Wins, I get it.
But we need bigger, much bigger wins. Even in Rwanda, they've completely banned plastic. If you have a plastic bag, you'll get fined $30,000, which is pretty wild. So yeah, I think there's a long way to go on that road. Some countries, places are kind of leading the way. I
understand getting some things over the line is challenging. But, there must be more effective strategies that can create an impact. One that really comes to mind is when the 5p charge came in for a plastic bag. And you now look at, I was just down at one of my local supermarkets, who we shall not name and shame, our plastic bags, 30p, 40p, 50p. And there is no implication anywhere suggesting that money is nothing but profit for them. And why is that? And maybe it is. Maybe it is being utilized for good causes. I don't know the answers to that. I couldn't find anything myself. But how is that allowed? That unnecessary charge, and why is it not? Why is that not being invested into reducing single-use plastic unnecessary?
I mean, the irony isn't lost on me that the fact that you can still bring a tote bag to the supermarket, even if you aren't buying a plastic bag, and you'll still fill it to the brim with plastic, right? Your salad's wrapped in material that lasts for 400 years. It's bonkers. Also, the fact that we, as a company, we're literally cleaning up the waste of Coca-Cola, Unilever, Danone, the list goes on. So it's kind of crazy that we are having to do that, but that is just the nature of the current situation. The good news, we're big believers that optimism fuels action. And there is a pathway to actually ending the ocean plastic crisis. There are amazing material innovations happening. You can check out plasticfree.com. They've got a resource library of plastic-free alternatives. So from potato starch-based materials to seaweed-based alternatives, we can actually move away from a lot of single-use plastic. But then the work that we're doing as well to set up collection points in communities and areas that just don't have that is really important to kind of turning off the tap on plastic waste.
If you had a message then on an individual level, what would you say to somebody who is still using single-use plastics, but we almost don't have the choice? So what actionable things can we do apart from your recycling? What can be some actionable small changes on an individual level?
Yeah, so I think business needs to enable individuals to be sustainable, to the point of the tote bag example and the fact that everything's still wrapped in plastic, or the fact that you might be buying a meal that's deforesting the Amazon and you don't even know about that, or that you want to travel somewhere and you're creating so much carbon emissions. We need businesses to enable people to live more sustainable lives. So the role of consumers and the individual is to keep that pressure up and to continue to build out and continue to support and buy from brands who actually are embracing business for good and kind of championing that. So I think that is probably the most impactful thing you can do as a consumer, but also the company you work for. I mean, that is a huge level of influence that you can have there internally, or maybe you're an entrepreneur. What can you do there? So I think people do have a lot of agency, and I think that's where we need to really shift the dial, because the blame has been placed on consumers when actually business has a lot of responsibility.
You kind of took the words out of my mouth there, but where is the most impact made? Is it through talking about this? Is it the educational side of it? Is it actually reducing single-use plastic? or is it actually reducing the amount of plastic made and being into our world? Where is the most impact kind of generated?
So I haven't used this analogy in a while actually, but I used to kind of talk about like an Oreo cake so you've got government at the top, you've got business and private sector in the middle, and then consumers and sort of people at the bottom. And it's really all those different levels that change and influence needs to happen. But yeah, within the plastic crisis specifically, it really is a need to eradicate single-use plastic. It doesn't belong in nature, and the reality is it will always find a way into nature. I mean, we are producing so much single-use plastic. Forecasts are still expected to triple in the next few decades. And then on the other hand, we really need to develop out this collection infrastructure. And the two approaches, kind of basically upstream and downstream, we can actually tackle this problem of ocean plastic. And the same applies to, loads of different other challenges out there in the world.
If you could get a 1-minute kind of elevator pitch with our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, what would you say to him right now? And you can look down that camera.
You can look right into the camera. So Keir Starmer, congratulations on your new role in office. You have got a massive opportunity to back and invest in businesses and innovations that are going to change the prospects of future generations. We have the opportunity as a country to lead the green transition, not only in climate, but also in nature. And I would really encourage you to dial it up massively. Happy to chat anytime.
And on the back of that, I will say, if I can get branded reusable water bottles, why can't the cabinet?
Thank you very much for that plug. That was perfect. Yeah.
And
expecting an email imminently.
Yeah.
I hope so. It'd be really cool for them to actually, take a stand and I think adopt more innovative solutions. Like we actually worked with the Norwegian government. They actually bought bottles for a massive conference and so on. But people, a funny thing is people always ask me, why did you decide on a water bottle? Like, why did you do that? Because it's not necessarily obvious to everyone, but the belief there really was that it is kind of the first thing that people buy on their sustainability journey, and it really signals what they care about. But also, everyone drinks water, so there's kind of no excuse not to be part of it. So hopefully, we can kind of continue to push.
You're right. It's the catalyst, hopefully, for future change in your individual journey with sustainability.
Yeah, hopefully, it's kind of like a little extra, beachhead landing that pushes that journey along, and hopefully, you can add on more to it. That's what we want.
Okay, well, my final question is, what does the word headstrong mean to you?
So I was thinking about this on the way over here. I think headstrong to me means being in a mental state where you're strong enough to really take challenges head on, but that you can also be yourself in those moments and enjoy the journey. That for me is headstrong.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it. Keep up literally all the amazing work that you're doing with Ocean Bottle. We love it. And we hope to see Ocean Bottles in the cafe.
Thank you so much. I mean, let's make it happen. But honestly, thanks so much for having me on. Love the podcast and everything you do. So it's been awesome.